Hi class, Mrs. Filiatro here. Welcome to our second lesson of our probability mini unit. Today we're going to be exploring experimental probability. So what is experimental probability? Well, I'll tell you it is way more fun than theoretical probability, but we still need to understand theoretical probability in order to understand experimental probability. Experimental probability is the number of times an event occurs out of a total number of trials an event is performed. We can express experimental probability using this formula. So the probability of an event happening equals the number of times an event occurs over the total number of trials. So trials are how many times we conduct a specific event. So let's take a look at a four-piece spinner. We've got our four-piece spinner here, just like we explored in our theoretical probability video. So let's say we want to find the probability of landing on red, and we're going to conduct 30 trials. So our first step here is to list the possible outcomes, and then we need to make a table of these outcomes. So our possible outcomes are red, yellow, cyan, blue, and we create a table here. So we've got a section for each color. So the probability of landing on red is 1 over 4. Remember, this is our theoretical probability, right? And 1 out of 4 as a decimal would be 0.25, as a fraction would be 25, sorry, not as a fraction, as a percent would be 25%. So our next step is going to be conducting our experiment. So we're going to head on over to a virtual spinner to conduct our 30 trials. So here we have our four-piece spinner. And I am entering in 30 spins. I'm going to begin spinning, and we can see what our results are going to be. All right, so you can see that it is randomly landing on different points on the spinner. So I'm going to skip to the end so we can see what our results are. So after 30 spins have been conducted, we have 11 counts of landing on blue. So the experimental probability is 36.7%. We have 4 counts of landing on yellow, and the experimental probability is 13.3%. We have 10 counts of landing on cyan with an experimental probability of 33.3%, and 5 counts of landing on red with an experimental probability of 16.7%. And you can see the theoretical probability, as we had taken a look at in the previous lesson, is 25% for each equal section of the spinner. So let's take a look at our results from the four-piece spinner here on our table that we created. Now, it's really important when we are conducting an experiment, it didn't show up on our spinner screen, but we need to make sure to tally our results. So as we would conduct each spin, we would create one line marking in the appropriate column depending on what event had happened during the spin. So then we can count up how many times we landed on each color and add that into our table here. So we can take a look at our results that come straight from the website that we used. So we can see that we landed on blue 11 times. So our experimental probability was 36.7%. We landed on yellow 4 times, and the experimental probability is 13.3%. And cyan is 10 times, and our experimental probability is 33.3%, and we landed on red 5 times, which is 16.7%. So those are experimental probabilities. All right, so you're going to take a look at the hyperdoc, and you are going to pick either to further explore experimental probability on Khan Academy or through Discovery Education. So you can take a look at that this evening before exploring that in class tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I hope you have a great evening.